You are on record.
Okay,
So,
welcome everyone to the meeting of the Minor Site Plan and Subdivision Committee of Parsippany-Troy Hills. Today is Monday, June 20th at 7 p.m. Nora, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Mealy,
I'm here. Myself.
Mr. Meth,
Present.
Ms. Veely. Here. Chairman Von Aiken.
Here.
We also have with us our board planner, Mr. Weiser,
Yes.
our board engineer, Mr. Canjiano, and our board attorney, Mr. Lagana.
All right. Announcement is made that adequate notice of this meeting has been given and it is being conducted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 et sec of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, this meeting is open to the public. Are there any members of the public wishing to bring up topics which are not on the agenda for tonight? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion and move on to our agenda, in which we have application number 22.516 Westmount Plaza. Is the applicant present?
Yes, we are.
Very good, thank you, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Joseph O'Neill for the applicant. We are here for a renovation at Arlington Plaza. This is going to be for the old Kmart, subdividing that into smaller spaces so it can be rented, basically. I have one witness with me this evening, Mr. Kate. I know we have a waiver which we need to address.
Yes, sir. Would you like to review that at this time?
Sure. So our report, Mr. Chairman, is dated May 10th. In terms of completeness, we do have to say that we were unable to get this completeness written recommendation in to Nora under the 45-day time period. So the application wasn't deemed administratively complete. Having said that, in terms of our questions as to completeness, in terms of conformance, with the checklist, we just do have two minor items. I'd like the applicant, please, the first one on page 2, we have confirmed that the architectural plans are signed and sealed. So that one falls away. The footnote number 2 has to do with site illumination, is listed on the checklist as being not applicable. We'd ask the applicant, and I don't know that he has to do it now, or maybe unless he's going to have a more formal presentation, to confirm that site lighting is either not required on the site with respect to proposed loading and on the platform and the canopy, or it will be addressed. With respect, Mr. Chairman, to the item we talked about just a second ago, we have a requirement that, and this is page 4 of our report, that minimum loading berth clearance is 15 feet. Applicant is proposing 14 feet. In this case, rather than a variance, this would be a design waiver, and we'd ask the applicant to put his reasons why he can't do the required 15 feet on the record when he makes his presentation.
So what we will do, Mr. Chairman, is we will, going in reverse order, we'll like to amend the application to go to the 15 feet to eliminate the design waiver.
Very good.
And regarding illumination, we'll just address that during the application, so we'd ask for that waiver for the sake of completeness.
All right, very good. Any objections to the waivers as presented and amended by the applicant? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move forward. The waivers have been approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call Mr. Kate.
Is it enough location for everybody, or?
I'd also like to note that Mr. Dadhich joined us at 7:02 p.m.
I was on time.
Sir, I'm going to swear you in. Before you give testimony, please raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Name and address for the record, please. Please spell your last.
John Cote, the last name is spelled C-O-T-E. Address is Langen Engineering and Environmental Services at 300 Kimball Drive, Parsippany, New Jersey, 07054.
Counsel, could you please qualify the witness?
Mr. Cote, could you give the board, please, the benefit of your experience?
Sure. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey for the past 32 years.
Can you speak? Yeah, don't press the, if,
Yeah. So I'm a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey since 1991. I've appeared before multiple municipalities throughout the state, and basically my engineering license is in good standing. And I've worked on retail sites for the applicant through various locations throughout the state, other states as well. And I'm a graduate of Stevens Institute of Technology, bachelor's engineering degree.
I'd like to submit Mr. Cote for engineering purposes as an expert this evening.
Any questions from the board regarding the expertise of the, all right, very good.
Thank you,
Acceptable.
Mr. Cote.
Thank you.
Why don't we go right to it? Describe, please, what it is we're doing here on site.
Sure. I'm going to refer to the boards over here, just quick. Just for
a mounted version of what we submitted, correct?
Correct. So the first exhibit is the survey, just to give everyone orientation. Want me to mark it as A1?
You don't need to.
Don't need to, okay, we'll do that.
It's the reference date of the plans.
Sure. So the plan is entitled Boundary and Topographic Survey, and it's dated 4/15/2021, April 15th, 2021. The survey depicts the existing conditions of the site. Most people are familiar. I'll just point out that Route 46 is on the bottom end of the page. The main access point from 46 routes into the site. There's a large parking field on the east side of the site. On the west side is the orientation of the former Kmart facility. There's some inline retail as you make your way north, and then there's the existing ShopRite that's at the north end of the building. The project is proposed to do the work at the southwest corner of the existing Kmart facility. I'll switch to the site plan. Site plan and grading plan, drawing CS 100 dated February 7th, 2022. So the orientation north is to the left, Route 46 is on the right-hand side here, and you're looking at the orientation of the Kmart building basically across the page, and in the southwest corner of the building is where we're proposing the loading dock addition. The loading dock is basically a 1,300 square foot concrete pad area adjacent to the building. There'll be 2 loading dock bays cut into the existing walls. They'll support 2 loading spaces and 2 compactor spaces. As a function of the traffic, the truck circulation maneuvers, we've cut a corner of the existing gardening center and converting that from the existing concrete it is today to an asphalt area and refencing that portion of the outdoor garden center and making a curb surround to basically truncate that for the position of the new vehicles. The loading dock area will have a canopy over it. As to the comment made earlier, that'll be raised to support the berth height of 15 feet. With respect to lighting, there's an existing light pole that's at the corner of the garden center that's there today. We're relocating that light pole back to a position behind out of the conflict from the trucks. And with respect to lighting illumination, we can add any additional lighting to the satisfaction of the reviewing engineer for the purpose of any compliance questions. Right now, we're relocating the existing light, and if necessary, we can put wall-mounted pack light or another fixture if necessary. And we can put that back to the engineer for review for compliance.
Do you feel it's necessary?
The only thing we're doing here is we're shifting it back about maybe 30 feet to the south, or to the north on the site. So we probably would look to, if I had to say, we'll add a wall pack or a light fixture to the loading dock area to provide illumination in that area. So we will add a light pack to that, get it back. Talk to the architect about it, and they can add a light pack there.
There's a question regarding an existing transformer. Are we relocating or removing that?
Yes, that transformer will be eliminated. Those transformers are going to go to pole-mounted transformers. That transformer is in proximity to where the loading dock is proposed. And just to the west of that is the existing gas meter, and that will stay in place.
Now, the old Kmart had a loading dock in the back there, isn't that true? That's remaining?
That's remaining, correct.
So the truck circulation, that's remaining unchanged?
Correct. On the north side, the truck circulation is the
Can you
same.
just describe that for us very quickly?
Sure. Vehicles will be able to circulate around the building. If you're looking at the former Kmart building being on the bottom end of the page here, they can circulate from the entrance I referred to earlier off of 46, come around the building, make their way through to the south, and to the west, southwest corner, proceed past the garden center and back into the proposed loading dock facilities. And then their exiting maneuver would be out the drive aisle. They would continue back out and exit the same entrance they came into off of 46.
There are bollards there protecting the fence, are they remaining?
The bollards are there, that will remain to protect the fence, and then if there's any additional bollards requested, we can add those bollards.
Now, we don't have any details regarding hours of operation or any changes to the pylon sign for purposes of this application. Everything will remain as before or conforming with regulations regarding signage. If, when a tenant is obtained, that needs to be changed, we'll have to come in as part of a tenant improvement for that. But we simply don't have tenants signed up to make those representations right now. Did you do any analysis as to any necessary soil movement?
There's actually, this is all asphalt today. We're just converting asphalt to concrete. So we're not actually, we're taking a portion of the garden center. So we're not actually excavating the soils proper. We're working from the ground surface up.
And there's no exaggeration of any, there's no variances here? We're not encroaching any more on side yards or rear yards?
That's correct. No variance is requested.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Okay. Mr. Weiser?
Thank you. Again, our report is May 10th. Just have two minor questions. For those who have our report, looking on page 3, we have a pre-existing nonconformity with regards to minimum lot width. 600 is required, 218 and change is provided. Can we confirm that this issue received prior approval from the original application, the conditional use application, or that it predated the 600-foot regulation?
Our impression is that it was previously approved with the application. I do not have reference to that resolution.
Okay, and I would ask...
That's remained unchanged, and we'll provide that.
Okay. And then on the next page, at the very top, minimum side yard setback, it's the same issue. Regulation is 10 foot to any side lot line. We have 0 foot on the east side and 525 feet on the west side. So for the east side, again, do we know whether that has received prior approval?
That definitely received prior approval.
Okay. Again, we concur with the applicant, Mr. Chairman, that no variances are required. We did call out, as we said before, potential relief for the minimum berth clearance, but the applicant will be increasing that to the required 15 feet. So we have no issues as we move forward.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Weiser. Mr. Canjiano?
Yeah, thank you for the testimony on the lighting. Yeah, I think the wall pack would probably be well suited there, so we would agree that, check it out and install that as for the lighting needs, but it looks like you would need something extra.
We'll
Very
definitely
good.
do
We'll do
that.
that.
And thank you for the testimony, because a lot of I wasn't quite sure what the proposed use was gonna be, and you do not have one yet. Okay, so
It is retail. There's a limited world of retail available for large spaces, which is why this is being subdivided down. But it will be a retail use.
So such time it's subdivided out, you'll know if you need additional gas services or gas meters, but you don't know any of that.
We don't anticipate any of that, but we'll see when the tenants come in.
Okay. Since there is gonna be a loading dock in this corner where there wasn't before, and the residences aren't that far away, my recommendation would be that you consult with the forester, see if there's any additional plantings that would be needed to buffer that a little bit, in that corner where the the loading dock is.
So we'll look at that, but there is quite a bit of distance there. I can introduce an exhibit showing the proximity of those apartments, but they're pretty far away, and there is a large green space between this site and that, where the easements, there was an old easement there. Why don't we
Yeah, and this is-
introduce?
yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just looking at the pictures, you could kind of see the housing through there. You get a clear line of sight, though.
You might be thinking of behind ShopRite.
No, right at this corner. It's
Oh, that
almost
corner?
it's like multifamily housing.
Give
That's
that
right
to Mr.
up toward 46.
I got it, thanks. Oh, okay. I do. Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah.
consult, we'll leave it subject to the approval of the forestry.
Okay. That works for me.
All right.
Yeah. We'll leave it.
And there's one other item, and I think the engineer's aware of it. It was a request from the township engineer on and thank you for sending information. We had requested some more information, or he had requested some information.
Sorry.
Yeah, so the township engineer had requested some information on the existing underground detention facility at the site.
And we provided the as-bills?
Yes.
For the original construction?
Yeah, thank you, and we do appreciate it, and he appreciates it, because he's adding it to his file, he didn't have much information on it. And this is subject to the board. He was asking if we could make it, if the applicant would be willing, particularly since it's been vacant for a while, to inspect and clean out that detention facility if it's not been done.
Okay. I'd like to answer that question, I'd like to introduce my client's representative,
Yes.
Mr. Korn.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll have to have
Mr. Korn,
him
please raise your
sworn
right
in.
hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Name and address for the record, please.
Joseph Korn, 820 Morris Turnpike, Short Hills, New Jersey, 07078. To answer that, we just re-cleaned it, we clean it on a regular basis, and we'll be submitting a certificate to the town that it's been cleaned and inspected.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Council, he's just an owner.
He's a representative of the owner.
Also a civil engineer as well.
And when you send it, I'm not sure what department you sent it to, make sure it gets to the engineering
It'll
department.
go to the engineering
Justin
office.
Lizzie.
We went through, got it inspected and
Perfect.
cleaned.
Perfect. Thank you.
Council, we're going to call this A1, 2 sheets, aerial of existing site, superimposing proposed loading dock.
Thank you.
No other questions.
All right.
Mr. Canjiano, just to the comment regarding the Parks and Forestry, we will, of course, work with them regarding additional screening back there, but I've been advised that there is a gas line easement back there. So we'll have to do that within the parameters of what we
Correct.
control.
Yeah.
Trans-Eastern? Thank you. So, to the extent we can, we
Yes,
will.
yes, that makes sense.
Okay. At this point in time, I'll turn it over to members of the board for any questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Mr. Mealy.
looking at figure 2 that you just distributed to us,
Sure.
there appears to be an angular clearance, shall we say, of the fence of that garden area, former Kmart garden area. Is there any reason why you wouldn't take all of that fencing down to facilitate trucks pulling in there better?
We actually, I can address that question. We actually pulled the fence back to manage the actual circulation required. Depending on wherever the trucks are, they can maneuver around that. So that was the extent necessary to do that. And we wanted to basically retain a fence to keep that area still closed off, depending on what the future use might be.
Okay,
If it ends up being an outdoor display area.
thank you.
And I can point out, just for reference to the comment, the question that was asked before, if you're looking at figure number 2 that was just referred to.
Yes.
You'll see where the loading dock is superimposed at what is basically the southwest corner, and you can see the tree line that exists there, that's within that area adjacent to the site, between that loading dock and residential. So there's actually an existing tree stand there today, and underbrush as well, that's depicted from the photograph of that area.
Yeah,
we'll-
again, if the forester says you don't need anything, that's fine by.
Sure, just
Yeah,
to
we're
give you an
fine.
idea that there is something there, just as a heads up.
Yeah, we'll work.
All right. Mr. Matt?
Yes, hi. Couple of questions. I think you said it, but so trucks are going to circulate all the way around all the buildings to get to the loading dock?
Yeah, they circulate around the entire facility today in order to
Okay.
get to there's various loading docks
All right,
throughout the facility today.
all right, understood. So because, yeah, there's definitely not room for a truck to turn around. On the frontage, the access to these stores, since you're splitting this into 3 stores, don't you need to move the ADA spots to provide ADA spots by the 2 new stores?
Yeah, once the doors and everything are established, the ADA spaces would be reviewed for compliance. So whether they need to be moved or not, I'm not speaking to that tonight because I don't have the door locations for where that'll be. But
Okay.
that'll be addressed, and that can be addressed through the building code compliance as well.
Okay,
plenty
No, that would
of
be an
parking.
No,
application of
for
the board.
for you,
Yeah,
I
site
understand the
plan
board
review.
as well, but I'm saying we have to comply with both, so there's no
Yeah.
avoiding the
I just wanted
compliance.
you to know that wouldn't be
Site
something.
plan for
That would be site
ADA
plan.
space?
So unless you want to comment about them here, that you'll be moving them near the doors,
So
I'm
they-
okay with the amount.
Mhm.
As speaking as the director, the zoning officer for construction as the prior
Mhm.
approval, I do not, approve handicap spaces and I make that go to the board. But if you address it now with the board, that there are 3 tenants and where the door and the entrances are and that you're going to move them, I'd be okay with that. And then building would be the ones that would ultimately decide if they're the right size and
Right.
and they're correct. But you'd want to bring it up now.
Yeah, if that's okay to put on testimony, then we will revise based on where the doors end up for the architectural
Yeah,
design for the
minor.
various
Yeah.
tenants.
But that way
We'll-
you wouldn't have to come back for a
Yeah.
second application for just
Just the
moving
ADA.
Sure.
parking spaces.
Yeah, we'll put on
Thank
record
you.
that we would adapt the ADA spaces to the doors as necessary to comply with ADA code.
So you'll modify this plan to show that?
Yeah, once the doors, we
Can
can
you give us a
provide that
general
actually
idea
back
where
to the
it's
engineer.
gonna
So, again, there's an existing door today from where the existing Kmart was serviced. Well, right, but that entrance, I'm saying, on the north side. So that entrance will be retained, and those ADA spaces serve that entrance today. It would be anticipated there'd be a central door as well, depending on the split of the tenants. So we would look to add ADA spaces on the east side of that portion of where the entrance would be, and the drive aisles that are adjacent. And we'll adapt the drive aisle and, grading wise for the purpose of meeting the ADA compliance to get to the door. There's a second entrance existing today that would be the third entrance on the south end that would also allow for, connection to a third tenant, and we would adapt the parking spaces that are immediately east of that to provide an accessible route to those doors.
Okay,
And
while
we
you're
can
at it,
provide revised drawings for that purpose.
While we're at it.
well, while you're at it, that's a pretty long stretch of building frontage road without interruption. How would you be willing to stripe some crosswalks
The ADA
by all the
spaces
doors?
create a crosswalk at every location, actually, meet your.
Well, I mean, it's recommended in ADA, but it's not required to to mark a crosswalk. But if you could mark a crosswalk, and then maybe mark stop signs and stop bars by all the aisles right there to protect the pedestrians, that would be appreciated.
Just gonna make a note of that.
We will do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I had it.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, 1 sec.
Okay, great.
Mr. Chairman, just had a follow-up to that. So if you're kind of looking for the board's input on the ADA parking at this time, for the future door locations, can you give some testimony on if the parking count will still be in compliance? And do you anticipate a loss in a space or two with the reconfiguration?
So right now, we're overparked according to the ordinance. So we're overparked in accordance to the ordinance. So any loss of spaces associated with ADA would not bring us below compliance.
Thank you.
Can you give us those exact numbers, sir? What's the
So
requirement? What's
right now, the requirement for the site is 1,150, and the existing is 2,438 spaces. and that's identified on the zoning table on the site plan and grading plan.
You sure you don't want to throw another building in while you're there? No kidding. Throw another floor on it or something? No kidding. That's a lot of parking.
You could even consider some landscaping in there as well, when
Well,
your
we're-
site plan is proposed, yeah.
Well, we're already doing the landscaping in the rear.
You've got plenty of parking, it's just a
Oh, you mean in
suggestion.
the park, in the
Yeah.
main parking lot?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Missing a couple plants, but there are some.
yeah.
trees.
Mr. Dudich, I think you had a question.
Yeah, just a kind of a follow-up on that. So, so ADA spaces will be reconfigured and, I think, stripes will be kind of considered. I just want to make sure even the ramp would be, created according to where the spaces would be.
Correct. In order to provide a compliant ADA space, we'd have to provide a curb ramp. to
Curb
the
ramp,
main- to the main door.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the client's obviously committed to meeting
Thank
ADA
you.
requirements.
Any other questions from the board? Okay,
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
all right. Are there any members of the public that would wish to comment or question on this application? Seeing none, I'll close the public questioning portion. And are there any final comments from you, sir?
No, I'll just rely on the testimony submitted and thank everybody for their comments and time.
Okay. With that said, I'll accept a motion from the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Mealy.
a motion to approve application number 22.516 Westmount Plaza, 792-808 Route 46, Lot 698, Lot 15.2, minor site plan to construct a loading platform with open canopy and loading docks, and the change to the minimum berth clearance of 15 feet, and comments made by Mr. Neff and Ms. Veely.
Second meth.
Okay. Were there any contingencies that we missed there?
The landscaping, if possible, at the rear, subject to the forester's review. The ADA spaces, including crosswalks and stop bars, for the new tenant spaces, according to the testimony, and the lighting.
Right,
That-
the lighting pack.
Pack lighting would be installed at the loading dock. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And that aligns with your motion, Mr.
Yes,
Mealy?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And your second, Mr. Meth?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. All right. Nora, would you please call a vote?
Didich,
Yes.
Mealy,
Yes,
Matt,
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
Von Aiken.
Yes. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
We are all complete for today.
Have a
Thank you
nice
for your
evening,
time.
everybody.
All
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another one
Would the
done in a
board
half
like
hour.
to
I'm waiting
make
for
a
it.
motion to
Can't get it
close
done
the
in a
meeting,
half hour.
or to adjourn us for the day?
That used to happen.
So moved.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
No, yeah, they'd be in the.
Thank you, everyone, for your time today. I know it was short.
You can just go.
Apologize for those of you that may have come from a distance, but thank